This is Reddit Bites, and welcome to your weekly source of Reddit stories. Today we take a deep dive into the interesting world of Am I the Asshole? AITA for not saying anything when my son kicked my nephew out of his room? I have a 16-years-old daughter and a 21-years-old son. My son is actually my half-brother. I adopted him when he was very little, so I just refer to him as my son. I have another brother as well. We didn't have a good relationship and barely talked. So when I adopted my son, my brother didn't stay in touch with him because he didn't want to be in touch with me. This made my son very upset. My brother contacted me a while ago and wanted to fix things, and I agreed. He has a 17-years-old son. Last weekend, my brother was going on a trip and asked if his son could spend the weekend with us, and I agreed. My nephew was supposed to stay in my son's room, but my son wasn't happy about it, so he kicked him out of his room. We all have different sleep schedules, so the living room is almost never empty, and my nephew who had to sleep there didn't sleep the entire weekend. My brother was furious when he found out. He called me an asshole for not forcing my son to share. However, I think he is still mad at my brother, rightfully so. So I didn't want to force him to do anything. AITA, for not sharing my inheritance with my cousins. So I'm 31. F, my mom passed away when I was 4. She was 26. Dad has never been in the picture. After my mom's death, her twin brother, my Uncle Jack, became my legal guardian. He passed away suddenly 2 months ago. My grandparents started a watchmaking company over 50 years ago. They ran it for over 40 and retired a decade ago. My uncle took over. When I went to live with my uncle, he just started working for the company full-time after graduating college. Instead of having a babysitter, he would take me to work if I was not in school. Uncle met Melissa when I was 10. She was very nice to me. They got married when I was 12 and had their first child a few months later. When my cousin Mark, 20, was born, things changed. She stopped packing my lunch and other stuff. I know that she is not my mom, but before she would just look at me with a smile, and after she would barely acknowledge my existence. They had 2 more sons. Anyways, I worked there part-time as a teen helping around, and Uncle taught me a few things. Uncle took over the company in 2012. My grandparents gave it to him. He took it from 145 employees to almost 1,000 in 10 years. Even started a watchmaking school. I went to college, then Uncle hired me full-time as a designer. Time went on. Mark would work for like 4 hours a week and get a full week's pay. And I've heard all my cousins and my aunt talk about how watchmaking is stupid, and that it's too much for something that only tells you the time. This comment is particularly ignorant, as we don't make only watches anymore, and I thought Mark paid just enough attention to know that, but it seems I was wrong. So it never seemed like they were interested in the company. Back to now. After my uncle's funeral, my aunt informed me that they were selling the company, as is useless to them. But they were willing to let me make an offer first. I was heartbroken. I just lost my uncle, and was probably going to lose my job, because there was no way I could get the money. Last week my uncle's will was read. All the money was divided in equal parts among me, my cousins, and Moo Aunt. She got his part of the house, and I got the company, 100% of the company. They were furious. I now have some friends saying it's their right to be upset for not getting something they understood were getting. Extended family calling me a thief because it was their father's company. And my cousins texting me things like, just give it to us. We're contesting the will. Meeting our lawyer tomorrow. Or, we're going to destroy you for what you're doing. My grandparents are on my side, but I just feel like I'm being harassed by all this people. AITA for not paying my teenage pet sitter after how I found my cat. So I, 39M, live with my wife across the street from a family. Dan and Gina and their 3 kids, the oldest of which is a 14-year-old boy named Max. I recently took a week-long vacation and made a deal with Max, communication with his parents, that if he came over to my house one a day when I was gone to take care of my cat, I would pay him $50. He had 3 main tasks: refill her water dish and automatic feeder, brush her, and clean her litter box every other day. When I came back, I found my poor kitty noticeably skinnier, with knots in her fur, and a litter box with a week's worth of urine and feces in it. I took the next hour to give my kitty some TLC and make up for Max's incompetence. The next day, Gina and Max rang my doorbell, and Gina made polite conversation before asking about the money. I told her about how badly Max had taken care of my cat, and Gina apologized. She then said that, due to his actions, she said that it would be fine to pay him only $20. I told her that no, I would not be paying him anything, because it's clear that he never came over at all. Gina argued that I couldn't know that. True, I don't have cameras, and that he's just a kid. and he did sacrifice his free time with the expectation that he'd get paid, that I should at least give him $10 as a learning experience. I refused and shut the door on them. Now, I respect workers and their time, and I understand that when you hire someone, you pay for their time and their skill. In my opinion, Max didn't give his skill, and I have a strong suspicion that he didn't give his time either. However, I realize I could be in the wrong, and I don't want to make trouble between my wife and Gina as they're good friends. AITA? AITA for asking my roommate to stop making coffee in the bathroom when he's up early. My roommate is in college, so he will generally stay up until 4 or 5 a.m. I work, so I am normally trying to sleep from 7 a.m. This hasn't been a problem until my roommate was gifted an expensive espresso machine by his girlfriend for Christmas. He put it in the upstairs bathroom, right next to the toilet, because it's more convenient. I've been waking up regularly to the sound of the coffee maker running at 2 a.m. I've asked him to stop, but he says he needs it because he plays Counter-Strike at a high level, and his team relies on him to have fast reactions. He uses the sniper rifle, which apparently needs more reaction speed. I suggested he relocate the machine to downstairs, but he refuses. I tried shaming him to his girlfriend, but she's just happy he's using it. Would it be rude to go further? AITA. For telling people not to eat the food at my sister's wedding, my husband, 27M, and I, 26F, were married 8 months ago. We had a big wedding with lots of food and drinks and people. I knew we would likely have leftovers, so I'd arranged for them to be donated to the soup kitchen we sometimes work with. However, my mom went behind my back and took most of it with her. I didn't really know what happened to the food. Until now. My sister Callie, 30F, got married over the long weekend. She didn't want to mess with any of the planning and, knowing how my mom was during my wedding, decided to let our mom take over the whole thing. All we had to do was show up where we were told and party. The ceremony was beautiful, but it was when the buffet was revealed that I noticed something odd. The food looked eerily familiar, like identical to what I had for my wedding except for a little more dried out and sad. I found an opening and went to ask my mom about it, where she happily told me she saved a fortune by unfreezing the food from my wedding to serve to the guests now. I was horrified and immediately voiced my concerns about safety. She got upset and said I was acting like a snob and should be happy the food wasn't going to waste. I argued that it was never going to be wasted, but she wouldn't hear it. I didn't want to make a scene, but was worried about people getting sick, so snuck off to see my sister. She was horribly embarrassed. Mentioned that mom said something about saving money but didn't question it because she didn't want to foot the bill like I had. She told me not to eat the food and thanked me for the warning. From there, my husband and I discreetly started telling some guests to be wary of the food, and the rest of the night was fine. My mom caught some flack for being cheap, but I've also been catching heat. Some of our relatives have been saying that I intentionally made my family look bad and that the food was fine, as it was frozen and then defrosted for the wedding. They say no one would have known if I didn't make a stink over it. I don't know if I did anything wrong. I could use some help and would like to know if I should apologize. AITA? AITA for not sharing my tablet with my little cousin and making things tough for my aunt on a long flight. So I, 16M, am on vacation with my family. The people on the trip are me, my parents, my Aunt Jen, and my cousins Oliver, 9, and Luna, 6. My mom is super airline savvy, so she managed to get us all seated together in a line, me and my parents on one side of the aisle, and my aunt and cousins directly across from us. Anyway, I brought my tablet, which I bought with my own money, on the flight so I could watch Netflix as it was a pretty long flight. About 20 minutes after takeoff, I hear Luna start fussing with her mom about something, but I turn up the volume on my headphones. Then I feel a tap on my shoulder from Luna, who has the aisle seat. I'm also in the aisle seat. Dialogue is rough since my memory isn't the best. Luna: Hey, mommy said I can play on your tablet. Give me it. Me: No, I'm using it right now. Maybe if you ask nicely when I'm done with my episode. Luna: But she said I could. Me: I don't care. Luna: Huff: Mommy, I can play with my name's tablet, right? Jen: That's right, honey. Luna: See? She said so. Me: It's my tablet, not your mom's. She can't make me give it to you like she can with Oliver. Now leave me alone. I then put my headphones back on and turn up the volume again, drowning out any more whining. About 20 minutes later, my dad taps me on the shoulder and asks if my episode is done yet, because my cousins are getting pretty noisy and my aunt needs a break. I can definitely hear the both of them whining and borderline yelling at my aunt that they're bored. Here's where I might be TA. I decide that I want to keep watching my show, and that entertaining my cousins isn't my job. I say that if Luna can ask nicely, She and Oliver can play for 10 minutes, knowing full well that Luna won't ask nicely because she's spoiled. Jen. Hey Luna, ask my name nicely if you can play Luna? My name can I play? Me. What's the magic word? Luna. Give it. Me. Sorry, that's not the magic word. I guess you don't get to play. I put my headphones back on and turn the volume back up, keeping it that way for the east if the flight. Save for the few times my parents asked me to give my cousins another chance, to which I said no. After the flight, my mom said that what I did was petty, and that I made things unnecessarily difficult for my aunt on the flight. I know what I did was petty, but does it make me an AH? Thank you for watching.